Welcome to our channel, Trade with China. Today we are going to share the most recent September 29th China's Central Politburo meeting conclusions and indications, which is vital to all who have trades with China. We're diving deep into the results of this session, chaired by General Secretary Xi Jinping. It really focused entirely on drafting the 15th five-year plan. Our mission today is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Quickly synthesize these policy signals, giving you a clearer framework for, well, the next 5 years of economic and social development in China.
Right. And what this signals, really, for anyone dealing with China is policy certainty. I mean, this is the absolute top-level blueprint. Understanding this draft now is pretty critical for setting those long-term investment strategies. And crucially, we actually know the finalization schedule. The 20th Central Committee's fourth plenary session is set for October 20th to the 23rd. That's when they'll officially adopt this plan.
Okay, good. So let's unpack the core policy signals then, the things that really jumped out from the meeting communique. If you're an international investor looking for clarity, what are maybe the two most critical takeaways from the language they used?
Well, the language is, I'd say, overwhelmingly positive for engagement. The two most significant signals are definitely the emphasis on expanding high-level opening up and also a commitment to the sustained enhancement of development dynamism and social vitality. Now, these are just buzzwords. They explicitly suggest China really intends to remain deeply engaged and focus on stimulating its internal economic activity.
And what truly jumps out at me here is the immediate validation we saw from the market. The Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong, it rose by what, 1.89% on the day of the meeting itself. That seems purely driven by anticipation that these favorable policy signals were coming.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a clear sign. This high-level certainty, it translates directly into, well, sort of an opportunity list for investors. The China Securities Regulatory Commission has already committed to ensuring the capital market aligns properly with the goals of this 15th five-year plan.
Right, and that brings us directly to the concept really underpinning their strategy. The new quality productive forces, or NQPF, it gets tossed around a lot, but strategically, what does NQPF actually mean? And maybe more importantly, what specific tech sectors are being prioritized here?
Okay, so NQPF, it's essentially a strategy to shift the economy, away from that old factor-driven growth relying on cheap labor, basic manufacturing toward high-value creation. Stuff powered by innovation. It's fundamentally China's industrial policy response to, well, geopolitical pressures, prioritizing self-sufficiency in core components. And the prioritization list, it really looks like a continuation from the 14th plan. We're talking new generation AI, quantum information, integrated circuits, brain science, gene and biotechnology, clinical medicine, and also deep space, sea, and polar exploration. Big stuff.
Okay, so if that's the investment focus, it presumably needs to be supported by a better trading environment, right? Let's talk about that high-level opening up again. We kind of understand what tariff reductions mean, but what does the phrase institutional opening up actually signify in practical terms for companies operating there?
Yeah, good question. It means aligning the core legal and regulatory systems much more closely with international norms. We're talking about concrete steps beyond just tariffs. It involves aligning competition laws, clarifying and hopefully improving cross-border data flow rules, and definitely strengthening intellectual property enforcement. The goal seems to be a top-tier business environment, characterized by market orientation, rule of law, international standards. And this also, importantly, sustains the momentum of the Belt and Road Initiative. We saw evidence of that with non-financial direct investment in BRI countries rising, 15.6% year over year in Q1 2025.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, the plan also emphasizes coordinating development and security. While that sounds, reassuring on one level, doesn't the emphasis on security sometimes translate into greater political control, which, let's be honest, can increase uncertainty for foreign firms?
That is a fair and critical question, yes. While security is emphasized, the plan does seem to try and mitigate financial uncertainty at the same time. For instance, stability is also being created by tackling systemic debt risks head-on. Since early 2023, China has actually managed to reduce the quantity of these financing platforms by over 60%, and the associated debt down by more than 50%.
Wow, that's a huge drop, 60%. What kind of financing platforms are we mainly talking about here?
Primarily, we're talking about local government financing vehicles, or LGFVs. They've been a big source of underlying risk. So the cleanup of this LGFV debt is actually providing a measurably safer, more predictable environment for international capital coming into the market. It suggests that the security focus isn't just about political control, but also very much aimed at achieving long-term financial stability.
Right. Okay, so putting this all together, synthesizing all this, what would you say is the single biggest long-term strategic takeaway for someone listening?
I think the meeting signals a really fundamental, almost non-negotiable push for the green transition. And just the overall advancement of what they call Chinese modernization. This inherently creates massive long-term investment space, particularly in clean energy, environmental technology, sustainable infrastructure. That feels like a guaranteed direction for the next decade, really.
Okay, a guaranteed direction. And finally, let's leave our listeners with a final provocative thought to consider. The 15th five-year plan period, it seems likely it will include a much more intensified push for RMB internationalization. Now, this isn't just about increasing its use in trade settlement that's already happening, right? The long-term sort of structural goal being signaled here seems to be elevating the RMB's status as a genuine international reserve currency. That is probably the next big phase of global financial change that you really need to watch closely.
Your comments really encourage us to realize our video value and update more useful information. Please press like and subscribe us, not to miss the possibility to understand and make money in trades with China.